All right. Hello, everybody. We are back. About time. Been away for a little bit because before getting into the book, I have graduated with my master's in English. So I now have a master's in English studies from Arizona State University, and I'm going to try and teach starting in the fall, which will be pretty fun. I hope. I've had a lot of fun with it over the past semester, teaching English 101 to students, and so I'm hoping to continue that up here in Washington. But for now, let's get into the book review. So this is The Hungry Tide by Amitav Ghosh, an Indian writer who has won several awards around the globe for his work, for his fictitious and non-fictional work, and it was just absolutely amazing to see, and just what a treat to read The Hungry Tide, where it really envelops the environmental concerns that are held by those impoverished communities in India, called the Sundarbans, if I'm hoping I'm saying that right, which is India's tide country, where cyclones and storms and flooding and animal attacks are a daily occurrence. They're just a way of life for those there, and many people don't really pay attention to it because of just how impoverished they are, and you know it is said that their life is worth less than animals, because the forest department prioritizes the acres of forest and the tigers and all the aquatic creatures over the lives of humans, and that is a big argument that is held up in the book as well. Besides being in the book, though, or besides the environmental impact, there's also the personal and historical impact of growing up in India and then moving away to America, where one of the main characters moved to Seattle. Shout out the Pacific Northwest, and became a marine biologist. There we go. Was a marine biologist, and she studies freshwater dolphins, the Irrawaddy dolphins, and their small, very small ecosystem in the Sundarbans, and how they've been slowly declining the population over the decades, and it was just really sad to read. Now, obviously, this is fiction, but what the experiences that they talk about are real, of seeing countless amounts of animals just flowing in the waters, and crabs, just millions upon millions of crabs in the mud, and going to now where it's they're still there, but not nearly to what history has described in centuries past by English colonizers. So it is certainly I don't know, it's certainly a stoic moment to reflect on, because even when you look at such a remote place as the Sundarbans in India, and seeing their decimation of wildlife and how that is conflicted against human settlement, and how they are just trying to survive there is quite telling, and the way that Ghosh does it is fantastic. He sets up two main characters, Kanai and Paya, and just swaps POVs back every 3 to 5 pages, I would say. And you'd think that it wouldn't be too much, but it works. It really works. And eventually, for a good portion of the novel, actually, Kanai is is reading his uncle's notebook, and the notebook takes his section of the POV, and you just see this rich historical, immersive story of the Sundarbans and the Morajapi massacre. Once again, I hope I said that at least somewhat right. And it was just really beautiful to read about. This is one part of my teaching philosophy, is a foundation through world literature, and I think The Hungry Tide absolutely fills that spot for world literature in India, especially for those more impoverished, where their voices may not always get to be heard as frequently as others. When, say, if you take a novelist like Salman Rushdie, who with his the Satanic Verses, so that was really just very, very nice to see, and very, very expertly crafted. His prose is, it may appear simple at times, where it flows perfectly, and then he'll kind of just drop a bombshell on you. And I've got a couple of them written here that I would like to share with you, because being in such an environment as the Sundarbans, where there are rivers upon creeks, upon ponds, upon little just inlets of water to the mangrove trees, to the mangrove forests. He does such a good job of describing that. This is on page 179. Quote, "Then I thought of Morajapi. What I saw as a veil of tears was for others truly more precious than gold. I remembered the story Kusum had told me of her exile, and how she had dreamed of returning to this place, of seeing once more these rich fields of mud, these trembling tides. I thought of all the others who had come with her to Morajapi, and of all they had braved to find their way here. In what way could I ever do justice to this place? What could I write of that would equal the power of their longing and their dreams? What indeed would be the form of the lines? Even this I could not resolve. Would they flow as the rivers did, or would they follow rhythms as did the tides? I put my books aside and went to stand on the roof, to gaze across the waters. The sight was almost unbearable to me at that moment. I felt myself torn between my wife and the woman who had become my muse I'd never had, between the quiet persistence of everyday change and the heady excitement of revolution, between prose and poetry. Most haunting of all, was I overreaching myself, even in conceiving of these confusions? What had I ever done to earn the right to address such questions? I had reached the point where, as the poet says, we tell ourselves, maybe that's what's left. For us is some tree on a hillside we can look at, day after day, and the perverse affection of a habit that liked us so much, it never let go." Unquote. That last little bit was from Rilke, a very famous German poet. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say for this novel, besides if you want an experience of being out on the water in an unfamiliar ecosystem, in an unfamiliar setting, where you might be on edge for possibly the entire novel, because you're kind of just leaning forward, reaching for the next step that Ghosh so expertly places just out of your control, and then lets you grab it just a couple of pages later. To read this about the Sundarbans in India was a treat. And I highly suggest you check out some of his other works, including The Glass Palace, which is probably one of his most well-known novels, as well as one of his non-fictional novels, The Great Derangement, which is a text on climate change, and which I will be picking up shortly, so I can see how Ghosh writes about it as well. But with that, I don't really have much else for you. I'm going to get started on the next novel here shortly, in between applying for jobs and kind of just enjoying my summer before I get back to it. So I will talk to you guys soon. Goodbye.